Okay, yeah, Patrique is
recording.
Patrick is recording the call.
Giving you the option to as well, or no?
I think if it's in the little area with the dots that usually is the record button, I do not see it.
I'm the one who boomer asked questions about how to use the technology.
I have never used.
You're the producer.
I don't.
Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock tick faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster. Living off borrowed time, the clock ticks faster.
Living Off Borrowed Time podcast, coming at you with a sequel to one of our, I would say, more under the radar niche episodes, I guess. We have some stuff in the chamber coming for you that people have been looking forward to for a while. We have a epic 2-part Wu-Tang Clan exploration, group and solo. We have 2, maybe 3 parts on Currency to Hot Spitta, not to be confused with a hospital, coming up with a very special guest, hopefully. The Backwoods episode should be out as you listen to this. In fact, I know for a fact it's out, so you should have listened to it by now. But we have something now that's a sequel, like I said, to an unloved episode that when I brought up I was doing this, I got some interesting feedback. My wife asked if I lost a bet. Former guest, frequent collaborator on RYM stuff, King Aaron, a.k.a. Horns, responded with, fuck ICP, though. My co-host, Caleb, who will not be joining us on this journey, said crying emoji, not the clown rap sequel. Because that's right, it's the clown rap sequel. It's the ICP DLC. We'll be covering everything we did not cover in the previous Insane Clown Posse episode with the only person we could cover it with, the only person willing to do this, the Clown Professor Emeritus, our super producer Wyatt, will be joining us to go through the solo careers of Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, as well as the most recent material of the Insane Clown Posse. Wyatt, thank you for stepping out from behind the curtain. The clown curtain.
I'm glad to be back. It's dusty in here. It's been almost a couple of years since I've been on the podcast, but I'm happy to be back. And I can tell you right now, to all those people out there who are disparaging the episode that we are at now and all of this bountiful material we are about to dive into, that they can fuck the fuck off, motherfucker.
Yes. I mean, I feel like Shaggy has some words for them, such as fuck off, motherfucker, fuck the fuck off. And I could honestly feel no way. There's no better way to follow Billy Wood's harrowing account of his father dying in the hospital in Puerto Rico on Church than with the legend of Mr. Big Nuts or whatever the fuck.
Legend of Stretch Nuts. Oh, God. We're going to have to get into that.
I think we do. But honestly, yeah. So I guess there is the question that you might be asking if you're just a listener who listens to all of these. I'm sure there are a few of those out there who are just devoted. You listen to every episode. First of all, thank you. Second of all, you're probably asking why. Why do we do these episodes?
Why, God?
It's because look, ICP is relevant and important, even if you don't like them, if you don't think they are. They're very successful. They've been successful for 30 years now, and they're more influential than you might think. And I know partially maybe it's a meme. Maybe I've tried to make it a meme that I say Violent J is a better rapper than Eminem. I think we kind of broached this topic on the previous episode. But I think
he is.
First of all, yes, he is. And second of all, what's the biggest difference between the two of them is marketing and image. They both rap about a lot of the same stuff that came out of the same fucking milieu, And the difference between them is Eminem has pushed for the longest time that he's the best rapper alive to the point where people believed it. And you've had pushed to you that these dudes are just no talent clowns. And they've embraced that and flipped that on its head to a very successful industry. But and they've taken the mainstream's hatred of them and converted that into their own kind of currency. No relation to Currency Dots, but episode coming. But mainly if you hate them, like again, the hypothetical you, I feel like a lot of that is just, I don't know, a misconception based upon media image. Just like I think the fact that Eminem reads the dictionary, therefore he's the best rapper alive, is also a misconception. It's
a combination of the ridiculousness of their origins and everything they put into it. I mean, at the end of the day, they are clowns rapping. Like, yes. That is in concept ridiculous. Whereas Eminem, when he started, it was like, I got this Dre cosign. I'm from the backwoods of Detroit, and I'm a fucking rapper. And I think that in turn, though, is also what has like completely shifted the narrative post, like, you know, the 90s going into nowadays, where it's like Eminem is such a fucking loser, like in terms of being a tryhard and trying to be like, I'm fucking, we'll get into this, but it's like, he's trying to be like, I'm fucking cool. I can still do this. I'm hip to everything, or I'm better than what's hip. Whereas Violent J, and to extent Shaggy, but as like a group, you know what I mean? They're just doing their thing, and they're like appreciative of everything that's going on, and they're just trying to have fun, and they're like, yeah, they want to be taken seriously, but it's also like they'll do a lot of dumb shit just for their sake or something like that. It's like, it's just way more sincere and inviting to me.
And when they do try and chase trends, the rare times they do, or, you know, comment on trend, or like, I mean, first of all, not once on any of these that I heard them say a lot of shit that I didn't like, that I didn't, you know, that I didn't enjoy. I will say that. First of all, in this, like, again, Wyatt's going to be the majority of the pro clown voice on this. As I said, I'm defending them. I'm defending us doing the episode. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to comment on that I didn't enjoy. There's at least 2 releases on here that I very not enjoy. But I will say
there is some stuff I won't defend.
Yeah, sure. But I did not once hear Shaggy or like Shaggy especially says some shit I really didn't care for. I did not once hear Violent J or Shaggy complain about mumble rappers. And I appreciate like they were not going around bitching about, they did not brag about being real hip hop, nor did they complain about mumble rappers. But I will say that the times they seem clumsiest are when they do chase trends or comment on trends, which they weren't, you know, thankfully doing that. But obviously in the last episode, we covered the clown step stuff. Although when we get to one of the albums, I will feel like they did take years late, a second pass at some of that sound, and it worked a lot better. So, but let's just get to it. Let's start at basically the format of the episode. We're going to cover all their solo stuff, and as we get closer to the end, we will be picking up on the thread in the chronology. We'll start getting back around the end to their group work as well. So
we'll cover everything that the main group has put out since we ended that episode, which is from Yum Yum's Lure onward.
Yes. So, fuck off.
So, Fuck Off, motherfucker, released way back in the early days of, I believe, 1994. So this is right around like the start of their career. Out of nowhere, Shaggy just gets a solo EP for some reason.
Not the one I would, and it certainly, first of all, it sounds like 1994. Very much so.
There's still this Shaggy, unlike Jay, Shaggy is still holding on to that Eazy-E NWA flow that they had coming off Carnival of Carnage. He is still holding on to that because he really hasn't improved as quickly as Jay. So I think he needs it still as a crutch, but yeah. Yeah, this is pretty rough and formative. I didn't hate it, but it's dumb. It's very much like, if you remember my opinions on the previous episode about the earliest ICP stuff being very NWA derivative, this is very much in that vein. The production, I don't see production credits on here. Is this Mike Clark? Oh, God, yeah. Early ICP is hard to tell. I'm going to assume there's it's at least mostly Mikey Clark. I think they would have gotten him around by now. So it's got to be mostly him.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's great stuff production wise. It's the earliest beginnings of like this microcosmic era where like ICP was rapping over G-Funk inspired like shit. So the production is all across the board for all three tracks, I think, and pretty darn good.
4 tracks, by the way. 4.
4 tracks, excuse
Yeah.
me. 4 tracks, yes, I'm looking at it now. But you know, that certainly is already pretty well established. But yeah, Shaggy himself though is definitely still channeling Eazy-E, and he's also still kind of just saying whatever he can, and also still being incredibly vulgar. In fact, that's something that will always define a Shaggy EP or project, is that compared to Jay, the vulgarity is always going to be vastly increased. But it is nice to have this as like to come back to this and be like, oh yeah, I remember when they used to have this sound.
Yeah, I would say that the most interesting thing here is the production. It gets better as it goes along. I will say the first track, I remember. So one of the things I went into in the first episode, if you recall, I'm going to promise to not keep calling back to the first episode, but was that the set and setting is important. A lot of the first episode, a lot of my negative impressions were that I was just stuck in car rides, like I was either in the process of moving out of my apartment at the time, and also I was in a lot of car rides, listening to a lot of it in a short period of time. So that was a lot of concentrated clown content that made it like a little more annoying to hear a lot of this stuff in such a short period of time. This, I spaced out my clown listening over time, so that might account for a little more forgiving takes in this episode. This one I listened to at the end of a long work day. So first of all, a little embarrassed to be listening to some of these Shaggy lyrics around coworkers in fear of them hearing them, because Shaggy has some recurring motifs you're going to notice over the course of his career, mainly his nuts and big titties. Like, you're just going to hear a lot of those two things get mentioned, particularly his nuts. Many variations.
Particularly his nuts.
Yeah. And to the point where, again, there's apparently a alter ego of his or a character he invented that will get a whole song devoted to it that I alluded to in the intro. So what I'm going to say, this is a whole long walk to say the first track goes on way too goddamn long. And it's also the weakest beat on here, but the beats get better as they go. There's a really nice fat bass on here. According to one of the better reviewers on RYM that I would love to have on here sometime back in 99, does say Mikey Clark is responsible for the instrumental. So I'll take him in his word on that. And yeah, the beats are like kind of like skeletal versions of what you'll eventually get to on Hell's Pit. This is after Carnival of Carnage, I believe, actually.
This is after Carnival of Carnage. This is after Carnival of Carnage.
But before Hell's Pit.
I think, well, no, Hell's Pit is 2004, Patrick. We're like, after this is...
I'm not thinking Hell's Pit. I'm thinking of the 95 album.
You're thinking of Ringmaster.
Ringmaster. Yes,
Ringmaster. I think Ringmaster comes out right after.
Ringmaster has the rickety carnival sound that still has kind of like G-Funk elements to it.
Yeah, it's got like G-Funk, it's got like Cypress Hill like type production. Like, yeah.
And a lot of like there's kind of like the blueprint to that in the production.
Yeah.
Which is
and unlike here, Shaggy by that point has figured out how to not do an NWA flow as much. So
yeah. The most unfortunate thing about his NWA flow is there's one point on here where we all know from Jay's history, he would not let Shaggy get away from saying a certain word, but they say ninja to get around it. He's flowing so much like Easy. He says ninja in such a way that it really sounds like he's saying that word.
Yeah, there's a couple points throughout ICP's history where they get real damn close with using ninja. Even up to recently, I think there's a point on, I forget what track it was. I feel like it was somewhere on Yum Yum's Bedlam where Jay starts the track going, "Yo, ninja!"
One time where I was
whoa.
Where I was like, really, and I don't think it's like a V Nasty situation. And by the way, my apologies. I said we would never speak of her again. I don't think it's a situation like that where he's really looking for a work. I mean, like, clearly the word was a workaround at one point, but I feel like they've just gotten so accustomed to saying it, they don't even realize sometimes that it sounds too close.
It's like, so close. It's just one. It's like one acronym away or whatever.
It's like one syllable away. And when you're rhyming so close to someone from fucking NWA on like a 1-to-1 of that, like, except not nearly as good. Mm-hmm. And it's not, and again, not like Easy was the most technical or nuanced rapper to begin with, all respect to the dead there. But Yeah. So we already said too much about this. It's fine. It's fine for what it is, but it's very simple, very basic.
Clown Love is good. Clown Love is really good. I'm Not Alone is really good. Three Rings is a great track, really but it will be improved on Little Box when Jay re-records his lyrics.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I like the last two songs better than Clown Love is where it gets better for me. The first song was kind of... It just goes on everything on here goes on too long. And one theme that I'm going to beat to death is that these guys are never like, I appreciate that they don't ride waves for the sake of riding waves, but they also are way committed to the old model of song structure. And some shit just goes on way too long, up to and including material. Like, you don't need 3 fucking verses all the time. And the older shit just drags. We'll get to this a lot more with Shaggy's solo material, I think, more than Jay's, because I think Jay just generally has more to say in a song and fill out a 4 to 5 minute song than Shaggy, who rarely does. So, but
that's good. That's a common theme with Shaggy. There's a strong section, and the rest just kind of feels like a. But here, it's at least an EP. It's even if it's still long, it does still get in and out. And like I said, you really don't need 3 Rings. Just go listen to the Riddle Box version. It's better, but we can move on.
Yeah, we can move on to, unfortunately, the best thing that I heard in this whole project is the one I have the least to say about, because I listened to it after Fuck Off and I didn't have a chance to revisit it. And it has pretty much the opposite problem Fuck Off had, was Violent J, Wizard of the Hood from 2003. Although I believe that the issues... Okay, so it says 2003 on the document, but I think RYM has it to 2006 or something. The dates on
2003 on
it's 2000, okay. It is 2003 on RYM.
Yeah, we are right. This is right after Shangri-La.
Okay, which makes a lot of sense with the production, by the way, because the production. Because one of the things I really like about this first of all, going out the gate, there's maybe, I'm going to say 4 ICP related releases overall that I would say I could recommend to a non-cultist and say, try and look at this objectively, try and look at this with an open mind and really appreciate, and there's something here you can appreciate on an artistic level. And I'm going to say although Malenko has the Ned game, doesn't it?
It does, which is why I always get a little bit
That's weary. So rough, man.
It's also the release that probably has them being, ICP is always vulgar, but for their first 6, that is the one where they are talking about their balls and making dick jokes the most out of all their albums. So I always get it, but it's also got their best songs, so it's really hard.
I mean, so yeah, Malenko is like probably at the bottom of that list, but I do think that's really where they like kind of find their sound the most. Wraith, Shangri-La, Hell's Pit. Again, I talked about, and I have a 6 of 10 review or whatever where I say that it's just such a depth. But I feel like Hell's Pit, especially for like fans of your Big L type rap, that's really there. And this one I would recommend specifically for fans of, well, first of all, Cypress Hill, because I think that the sound on here is very like early, not like early Muggs kind of sound on a lot of bar-driven tracks for sure. I hear that. And I feel like Jay's flow on a lot of the rockier instrumentals is reminiscent of Be Real, in a good way. I know some Be Real's not for everybody, although he switches up his flow a lot on this, by the way.
He does. I've always said this, 2001, coming off of Shangri-La, 2001 to 2006, Jay is like him at the peak of his powers. This to me is like him at his best in terms of like rap ability anyway. Like this to like 2006, like this is him, like he's flowing, he's constantly switching things up. I do like he constantly evolves, and that's the thing we can talk about with Jay, but in terms of just pure rap ability, I think this is peak. And the two are, and he's not listening because, as we mentioned in the intro, he said fuck ICP and he's not going to listen to this episode. This would piss Aaron off so bad. Cool Keith fans, because what Jay is doing on this is exactly the type of shit Cool Keith was doing from Octagon onward for so many projects. And gonna hate to hear this, a lot of you gonna hate to hear better than a lot of those Cool Keith projects, like after Diesel Truckers, where he's not even like fucking trying, where it's just like he puts a different name on saying he's going to pee in a whack MC's hair. Like, let's be real on that one. Sorry for the double reference to Be Real, but the way Jay inhabits these characters, tells these stories, like
intricate might be a little too strong of a word for this, but I feel like there's crossover narratives. There's different character voices that aren't corny. Like
that's what I want. That's what I wanted to bring up. Is there's so much I know you talked about how one problem with this is that it's really packed in for 30 minutes. But I feel like if you know what, I hope that when you get to a second listen, maybe that'll help. Knowing what you're getting into, it can feel like more of a breather to really digest it all, because there is a lot going on here. There's so much character built into how this story gets told over these 30 minutes, and it's impressive that's how it's done in 30 minutes. There's there's character building moments. There's time for tracks where it's just character interactions and then building relationships. There's little moments that I love where there's just side content, like Jay on the third track, Yellow Brick Alleyway, where he convinces the Munchkins that he crushed the witch on purpose because he was moving the furniture to aim it. Just little shit like that, where it's just little character things, little character clips that get filled in. It's damn impressive, and it flows together track to track, each section so perfectly.
The transitions are really impressive too. I would say. Homies to Smoke With, I think, is really impressive. That's probably the most Wraith Shangri-La track on here, I would say, in terms of the instrumental and the hook. That's just a really nice, upbeat smoking song. I'm going to say Let It Rain has a very jarring use of a slur. That's also an oxymoronic use of the slur on it, too, that I really could have done without, took me out of it. That's my biggest problem with this. Jay has since taken, let's say, a more enlightened attitude towards the LGBTQ community, which is nice to see.
He said that he fell under social pressures. He admits that it pretty much taints all their back catalog, and he is not happy with it. But he wants you to call him out on it. That's the good thing, and that's how I know he's genuine. He wants you to call him out on it.
Whereas Shaggy, I feel like, is a little less, let's say, self-reflective.
Shaggy is fascinating, by the way. I want to put this in here. Shaggy is fascinating with his homophobia, because I think he might be the only dude that I know of where the end suffix of phobia comes into application, because I know he doesn't hate gay people, but my God, if you see him get touched by another man, does he in any joke skit he's ever done in his life, he looks scared to fucking death the minute he has any contact with another man. I don't know. He might be genuinely just scared of male contact. I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah, he might be the epitome of that whole, I got no problem with them, but don't let them be in a room alone with me.
Don't touch me.
Get gay on me or whatever. I could definitely see that.
I think he definitely is that. I think he is.
But just the overall, I really enjoyed this. I really would like to come back to it because my listen to it was rushed. But my complaint, aside from the use of the slur, is just that it was a kind of a complaint that's also a compliment, is that I feel like it's overpacked for an EP length. But although you said it's an EP, but it's not an EP. It
really borders.
Yeah, it's considering what's an EP these days. This is 30 minutes long, and one of the things about it that's impressive too is consider the title, look at the cover art. This could have been so corny. And honestly, if you told me about this, okay, ICP solo project based on Wizard of Oz, which, by the way, I don't know if any of our listeners have read my review of the Wizard of Oz and RYM. I fucking hate that movie. I'm really not a fan of that film. I much prefer the ICP version. So...
yeah,
this could have gone so wrong, but Jay's character writing, performance, the instrumentals, everything comes together on this really, really solid, well thought out project that works on, a smoker's level, also works on just a concept album level, and as a Jay rapping performance too, during, as what you said, his peak level of performing on a lyrical and all that level.
What also helps is that he's been developing this, because I don't know if you remember, but on Carnival of Carnage, there's a song called Wizard of Hood that does this, but he tries to do it in 3 minutes, and he can't. It doesn't work because he's trying to fit too much in. And even before that, if you're deep in your quote unquote Juggalo knowledge, you know that he was, unlike old Inner City Posse demos, he also had a track called Wizard of Del Rey where he has no one else with him, and he tries to tell the story in 3 minutes, and it's even worse. I think this has always been a pet project for Jay to tell this story, and this was him realizing, I have a label now. I am like feeling good about myself coming off the 6th, and I am just going to put all of my effort this thing that I've always wanted to do and get it right this time, have a cast of characters, and you can feel that. There's a lot of effort and love and really thought, and like you said, thought put into this. This is really well thought out and structured because I think he's been working on this for years now, coming up to this point, like over 10 years.
Well, something that's a little less well thought out and structured, although not terrible, would be the first full-length album, which we were all waiting for, from Shaggy 2 Dope, building off of his EP, which was Fuck Off. He would now like you to fuck the fuck off.
Over 10 years later, Shaggy comes back into the fold. And, well, I'll say this. He has absolutely improved in rapping. By this point, 2006, he's solidly within like a decent rapping ability. We're not at his best yet, but we're in a solid state enough that he could certainly carry a few tracks on his own. But that's the thing. He can carry a few tracks on his own. And a whole album? Not really. I
pretty much enjoy fully one track on here, Meltdown. And the more I think about Meltdown, the more I think maybe... I don't know, though. I feel like... I was about to say maybe Jay wrote that for him, because I think the voice he uses on Meltdown kind of feels like a voice that Jay uses a lot. The more I'm thinking about Meltdown, that like fake, upbeat, peppy voice... Mm-hmm. That flow feels like either he's mimicking a J flow, or I mean, it's definitely a J type of song. Although the images there are kind of a uniquely Shaggy thing. Thinking about the second Shaggy album and the Acid song on that album, I feel like has the similar heavy air quotes poetic imagery on it. But go ahead. I'm got something to say here. I'm
going to remove the paint for you here a little bit, peel back the layers, and let you know that up until Shaggy's second album, Jay is usually the one writing for Shaggy. He did write a majority of this album and everything.
Really killed the illusion there. You broke kayfabe real hard
I got to break kayfabe just a little bit, just to let you know that, I mean, there are probably some tracks that Shaggy wrote. I don't remember which ones of what, but I do feel like I do remember Meltdown being one that Jay was listed in credits as having written.
Yeah, that has Jay's fingerprints all over it, and it would be, like, the fact is, that's almost, to go back to the Eminem thing, that feels like, the more I think about it, because I'm like, that's the one song that really stuck with me as a good song, was the flow on that's almost like one of those Dre and M songs where Dre's not even trying to hide the fact that Eminem wrote that, and flows just like Eminem, where it's like, come on, man, like, no one believes that you could have wrote and flowed like that. So aside from that, there's stuff on here that just annoys the shit. Oh, the other thing I thought about after the fact, because this doesn't really give me a whole lot to chew on in terms of content, but the scrubbing thing, they really go back to Scrubs a lot as a motif. I'm wondering, was that like a response to the TLC song from like 7 years before this? Like, I know they're like referring to themselves as Scrubs as like a point of pride, and like, but it's like, that's such an outdated slang term. Like, I don't think anyone was still calling them Scrubs.
I can't remember.
Is that like Juggalo slang? Like, did they like?
I think it is Juggalo slang. I just don't know if they picked it up from that song. I'm trying to remember how early back they used it, but yes, it is Juggalo slang.
Because
call yourself a scrub.
Then it's like I think it's on like one of the more the current like the
Pug Ugly EP. Yeah. The Pug Ugly EP. There's a song called Scrub Gang.
Right. So I did not care for Alface Ho. That didn't do it.
Oh really? Oh
nah.
No. It's so fucking stupid. I agree, but it's so I don't know. The beat kind of goes. I don't know.
Ball Bounce has a terrible. Ball Bounce has a fucking terrible beat. Like Ball Bounce beat sucks.
Yeah, no, that song is terrible. A lot of these beats are very like. Remember in Call Out Culture how they said that there was like this Trident era where it was like a lot of people were just not using samples, making their own shit and whatnot, like beats, and it was all like,
well, yeah, you know, like they're all afraid of getting fucking like Mac Miller, Lord Infamous type thing. You know, they didn't want the litigation.
This is like deep in that for instrumentals. Like this is really into that type of style a little bit. It's still got some ICP isms, like certain rock tracks and instrumentation in here, but I definitely get the sense of the times with this a little bit more.
Well, it's stuck in the same kind of mental recursive loop of raps needs to sound like this that Rick Rubin has been cryogenically frozen in since 1986, or like Eminem seems to think whenever he does like a track like this, like that Berserk song or whatever, like there's a very just stuck in time and not in a good way feel to like the rock stuff on here. I don't know. It's not as bad as I'm making it sound. Like I had it at a 4 out of 10. It's mostly just passes by inoffensively. The songs I mentioned that I don't like Keep It Scrubbing is actually not that terrible. I was just curious about the slang on it. Like the first two songs have their charm. Like I said, Meltdown's fun. Really only Ballface Ho stood out as being particularly annoying to me. Although the heavy air quotes conscious songs on here,
they don't work.
Jay's hand, now that you mention it, Jay's ghost writing hand is very heavily felt in that. And first of all, in that he has to dumb it down pretty heavily for Shaggy to be able to rap this stuff. But Half Full in Your Life, it's just like, first of all, no one's coming to a Shaggy solo album for that. Like, and I'm done. And I'm 10 minutes shorter without it, and a little lighter on its feet. Nobody needs to hear Shaggy talking about the ills of the world. Nobody needs to hear Shaggy's take on Jadakiss's Why. You know,
which I was going to say, I'm going to stamp my point. I'm going to put my foot down for my listening habits that like, I'm done with Y tracks. ICP themselves, I've already made Y tracks. I'm kind of just over them now. I'm done with them. It's the same. I told you when we talked about this in chat, but it's like with basketball shooter references. Yeah. I'm done with them now. I'm not entertained by them, and they actively kind of annoy me a little bit.
Well, there's just like
I don't need them.
There's both a laziness and an insincerity and a disingenuousness to them. And at the very least with ICP, I feel like, or at least when Jay does them sometimes early on, there's a bit less of a disingenuous and insincerity to them. But with Shaggy doing ghostwritten Jay tracks about the ills of the world, it's just like, it feels very perfunctory and like, well, yeah, you have to have a conscious track on the back end of your rap album, right? Just like you have the 80s, right? Like, it's just as fucking, obligatory as putting your Chris Brown or Raheem DeVaughn fucking lady song section on a track around like 5 years from now on the back end. And it's just as fucking completely, disposable.
I'll say real quick, just to get my recommendations in, that I will go with Memories and Meltdown as highlights, and pretty much the stretch from Red Moon onward to the last track. I think that's all works fine. Yes, I'm including Owl Face Ho in that. I can't help it. I think it's pretty fucking funny and entertaining in a dumbass way, which is a reoccurring theme with a lot of ICP's music. Is like, even if it's dumb, if it's insulting, if it's embarrassing, it's like, I know that they're sincere, and it's fun. I'm having fun. And so even at the worst moments, but the problem here is that Shaggy, again, he can't really he's having issues carrying a whole project on his own. And there's always some sections where it just starts becoming either a blasé mess or something or he says something and it all goes wrong.
The problem I have, first of all, my only recommendation from this is Meltdown. I think Meltdown has cool images on it, and the picture it paints. Overall, the picture, it's not really so much a story song again, because Shaggy's not so much, like, he'll try and do more narrative stuff later on, like get a little more ambitious with it and be slightly more successful. Meltdown, I guess, is not so much of a narrative as it paints like an overall picture of society after nuclear fallout, so it just kind of gives you a series of images. That's what Jay gives him, and he's good enough at, conveying that. Meltdown's the one song on here I would keep. There's stuff on here that I find decent and stuff on here that I find not so decent. And there are a handful of tracks I find to be overall headaches, but there's one song I would keep. Yeah. But just for the listener base that does not have a strong reference point for Shaggy stuff, I'll say, and as kind of a call forward to the episodes we're going to do on Wu-Tang, imagine all those Capadonna albums after the Pillage and how it's just like slow, repetitive type stuff. That's the problem with Shaggy. He repeats himself and he does it slowly. And you get sick of it after a while. Except, yeah, and also both the way Capadonna talks about his dick size and his dick and whatever, Shaggy talks about his nuts. So you got that. They got that in common too. Moving on.
Not just ICP, folks. It's something I always say. It's not just ICP. A lot of rap does it. But yeah, we move on to what was The Shining. So Violent J's first solo album, which he never he I know there's Wizard of the Hood, but that's kind of a specialty case. Jay before this used to always say he never wanted to make an album because he was like, what the hell's the point? I don't remember why he then decided to finally do it, but here we have it now, the Shining, coming right before they would start the second deck, and it's kind of like the farewell to them having a mainly rap rock sound. After this, it would still be an album, but here is the last time you're going to get a majority rap rock songs. And for the most part, it's still it kind of has that problem that the Tempest does, where it's like without a central theme, it kind of goes all over the place for what they can really write about with material, but it's still solid, and there's a lot of cool highlights to it overall. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I liked it more than I disliked it. First of all, I'm going to say that I skipped the Ho song. Like I
good.
Yeah, I got 30 seconds. Like the beat was that annoying, and first of all, I have to go back. There was an issue.
Thank God you didn't get to the chorus then, because oh my god, the chorus is.
I will say that I was. The one real big lull in this one for me was, oddly enough, the Shaggy feature goes into For the Hose, and the Shaggy feature dragged so bad that I skipped to For the Hose, and the first 30 seconds of it was just so like, ugh. That beat actually is way more annoying to me than a lot of the like more rock inflected beats on here. My other problem with the rock inflected beats, there are two songs that I can't recall off the top of my head that feel like direct early to mid Marilyn Manson bites. Or actually, I'd say mid-Marilyn Manson bites, because early Marilyn Manson would be like 91. And that's just like almost to the point of, not quite to the point of being plagiarism, but very, very reminiscent, which just are like...
I'm gonna assume it was Get Out the Way.
That seems about right.
If you was in... Like, yeah. That's definitely... I could assume that's a Manson track. And I think...
Yeah. Something about the inflection line on it both were just like... And it seemed like... Ugh. And it just seemed... not ill-fitting for them. Like their sound is like when they do new metal stuff, like I can generally take it. I mean, Manson's not new metal, but that just didn't sit right with me, possibly because nothing Marilyn Manson sits right with me, but also that just seemed like a general sound crossover that doesn't fit for them. I think that so generally with violent content and ICP, like we talked about this in the previous episode with the track Fuck the World, and how it's just funny. Like a lot of the times, like you can't take this shit seriously. And one of the things I really like about this, which is funny considering that Esham is on here, Esham, whatever, and he generally goes way further than ICP does. I think a lot of Jay's verses on here are pretty fucking hilarious. Especially I Get Mad, which is apparently his most streamed solo song on Spotify.
Yeah, that always surprised me. Especially, it's just not a song I would tack as being the popular one out of these. Maybe it's just because it's not my favorite, but I do like it. But yeah, I wouldn't really. It's just
very silly. Like I feel like I don't know if this came out when JCW was doing particularly well, or that was like more of a main gig for them or equal, like really as much as the music, because I feel like there's a lot more of the just Jay going around beating people up content than there is like trying. Although the last track for sure kind of is more traditional horrorcore, but considering the Necro around, I feel like the violence on this is a lot more on the cartoonish end than the horror movie.
I can't believe fucking Necro's on this album. It's so fucking funny.
That's I wasn't expecting that, and I still think his track is more silly than it is like Necro.
Yeah, I wouldn't even think that he would listen to that instrumental and go, I'm hopping on that. I feel like he would be like, what the fuck did you just give me? Like, knowing Necro.
Consider
I feel like
Necro's general taste in what he makes for people. Like, Candyland's interesting.
Candyland. Can we talk about fucking Candyland? Oh my god, this track fucking rules.
Okay,
I
Candyland,
love this track.
of two minds about. First of all, it's up there with Tilt-A-Whirl, and there's another later track that I really love. I think it's called the Midway or something. It's on a later album. It's in the same vein. This one, though, has like a lot more sex double entendres that, again, I was listening to this at work, and I'm like, I hope people don't hear some of this stuff. But like some of the sex lines are a little bit, but it all goes in the same sort of like cleverness. Like the amount of like work and thought that went into this, like every line means two things at least, and it all goes into the same carnival theme. It's the same thing as Tilt-A-Whirl, more or less. It's so fucking clever. The beat is really good. It's one of his best solo songs. It's a lot of fun.
It's so fucking good. And yeah, I know what you're talking about, the sex lines. I think that mostly was on Esham's side of things than Jay's, but like there's just so much fucking god, looking at because I have to pull up the lyrics for this one because I just love this thing so much because it's so creative, because he manages. It's just impressive how both of them managed to it doesn't stop the references and candy puns like throughout the whole thing. There's never a moment it stops when like Isham is like the sun was smiling like a big lemon head, or something like that. Oh god, I gotta find that one. The sun looked like a big lemon head saying hi. Was I high? I was high. No lie. I'll catch you next time in Candyland again. Bye bye. But
yeah, it's really creative, and I actually think 14-Year-Old too is surprisingly good in terms of a story song. Although again, that has some content that's thematically appropriate. Like, honestly, I feel like that's how a horny 14-year-old ghost would act. Do I really want to hear about it? Some of the stuff, maybe not at the length Jay raps about it, but, it's still a good character.
It's interesting to have 14-Year-Old on this album and then have Home Invasion, like you were bringing up, as a track I'm also not very fond of, because it shows you the tightrope that Jay walks sometimes with how he is with the story tracks, where sometimes the snake can eat its own tail. I'll just say this for any rapper. There's a very fine line between your story being pretty detailed and being way too detailed and explained and cinematic, that then it kind of becomes like, it's not corny, but I don't know what you would call it, but it becomes too intensive.
I don't know. Let me just pull a name out of a hat at random. Eminem here. On Relapse or whatever, where he just does all these fucking like unnecessary details about like how he's going to gut celebrities, where it's just like, okay, you don't like female celebrities. I get it. You're a serial killer and you go around killing female celebrities. We get it. You got a problem.
Also, like your voice, like at a certain point, I need rappers to recognize that at the end of the day, you're a rapper. You're not a voice actor. Please, you don't always need to put on a voice for every character in your song. You don't need to.
Which I actually think Jay was good about on Wizard of the Hood, in that he could switch his inflection without switching his voice. I'm actually you mentioned that, and I'm actually really thinking about Game on his most recent album, and his Eminem diss track, which is supposed to be kind of a story track, and it goes on for 10 minutes and 30 seconds. I've still never finished the fucking song. It's like he actually is like, it's a diss song that's kind of a sequel to Cannabis's diss album, because he picks up Stan in a cab. It's really weird, man. It's not good. It's bad. But like, he does voices. He does Eminem's voice. He does Stan's voice. It's like, yeah, again, you're not a voice actor. But yeah, I see what you're saying, though. It's like at a point it just gets to be too much. It gets to be rambling. Like, there's a point to be made there's a case to be made for concision, and at the end of the day, it needs to still be like a catchy song and not just
a story, like a ballad or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. Right. It needs to still catch on.
It needs to work as a song, which I guess kind of brings us to the final track, which is interestingly enough censored on RYM or censored on the RYM track list. It is Freeway Killer on streaming. Freeway Killer. I don't know if it's Killer or
former hidden track, but yeah, you're right.
I guess it's a hidden track. How do you feel about that? Speaking of overly detailed narratives.
Well, I think that one works because it does exactly what we're talking about. There's like what I'm talking about, where it's like as much as Jay packs into it, he's not doing any voices. He's just telling it from his perspective. He keeps it consistent to like a 3-part structure. Yes, it's that makes it 3 verses, but one is shorter on the end, so it's not overbearing too badly. I mean, it's still 5 minutes, but you know what I mean. That is like. It's not the most impressive story track I've ever heard from him, but it shows, it goes to what we're going about how to do it correctly.
I mean, I think it works. Think of it as a hidden track, it works. And if you think about it as like, the twist at the end of the horror movie, it works. So I think Let It Go works nicely as a final track. Pretty moving. All things considered. Like, the point I made in my review is the connection I really didn't expect to make is it reminds me of Zilla Rocca's track, The Best Part of Every Day, which he wrote thinking it was going to be the last rap song he ever wrote. Is like a nice dedication to his wife and daughter. It's a really sweet song, and I never thought I would make the connection between that song and anything written by Violent J, but this is it's just a really good song about just kind of, embracing the best parts of every day. Like, I think there's a lot of thematic connection between the two, and sonically they don't have much in common, but I think Jay delivers that pretty well. And I think that the kind of flow and structure of that song is what he tries to go for in a lot of their more like country ballady rap rock stuff in the later period that he doesn't nail, but he gets that really good there, like a Lighters Up live sort of thing that you could see doing is like a encore, and it works there.
Yeah, ICP have always loved their final ballad encore tracks. They've always loved them. So
yeah, and it doesn't always, but it works here.
Yeah, it works here, and it's also just a normal song at 3 minutes, so it's not like an actual full-on like their usual finale. So it's really concise and really just puts a nice ending stamp before you, like we said, get to the hit track. But yeah.
Do you think your old Droog realizes, and if so, he's pissed that he got beaten to an album about The Shining by like 15 years?
Possibly, but he might just go like, fuck you, and then just steal it and be like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
shout out to your old Droog for winning a Grammy, though.
Shout out to that. We just saw that. I'm sure he did great in that urban, contemporary, world, global music, whatever the fuck they want to call it now, while still calling it exactly the same thing type categories they always use. But fucking shit selection, Kennedy. You go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, fuck the Grammy. We are happy for Droog. We're not trying to shit on Droog here. We're trying to shit on the Grammys, though. Fuck the Grammys.
I'm happy for the vision. I'm happy for the attention he gets. I'm not happy about the platform that gets to give it.
True. ICP never even got nominated for a Grammy.
They never did. No, I don't think they.
I don't think they care.
No, in fact, I think that if they got a nomination, they would probably tell the committee, or at least Shaggy would tell the committee, to fuck the fuck off, motherfucker, because that's the next album.
I am so proud of you for that transition. That was a beautiful transition, and that was a better transition than any transition on this album, actually. I will say, because this album, I don't know. This album's better than.
I like it better. I'll say this: I like it better than the last album. I think there is a lot more interesting stuff going on, and I think, I'll say this once again, it shows that Shaggy has Shaggy's always been an upward trajectory in his improvements of his rapping. Here, I would say he is rapping pretty well. He's not rapping competently anymore. He's rapping pretty well for what he needs to do. There's a couple rough spots still, of course, but he's at instead of being at 50%, he's at 75 now. This is him at 75.
Yeah, actually,
percent of his power.
Being keen with that transition line, it was because this actually, this is the best Shaggy project, I'll say. And at least two periods on here, I will say, are genuinely, by any standards, by any metric, good rapping, which I'll say is Electric Kool-Aid, no relation to the Kool-Aid debut tape, which makes me think of Kool-Aid and Shaggy on a track together, which could be pretty fun. And Psychopathic Soldier, I think, are both really good rapping performances.
Really?
Psychopath.
I'm shocked. I'll be honest.
Okay, Electric Kool-Aid, I'm guessing is the one that shocks you.
No, Psychopathic Soldier is the one that shocked me. The Electric Kool-Aid is fucking rad as hell. That thing is like, that's the most wild thing. That's one of the most wild experimental things I've ever heard them happen.
Psychopathic Soldier is like genuinely a really good flow. I mean, I will say that maybe maybe I was more impressed by the immediate flow than the lyrics are probably fucking stupid if I listen back to it. That could be the issue. But I thought his flow on that was excellent. Electric Kool-Aid is great and also a genuinely experimental beat.
Oh yeah. And I'll say this, I think the crack. I love that. The it's also like it goes to the entire production on this this album. It's really interesting. I find the production on this project actually really fascinating because it's just, I think the word to describe it is fried. This is some fried ass production because who's producing this is Shaggy and DJ Clay. DJ Clay used to be Psychopathic Records like in-house like DJ guy that they brought in, and Shaggy himself is a DJ guy. So it's kind of like a weird infusion of like hardcore hip hop type beats, like drum beats, but mixed in with like club dancing, a lot of tiny scratches and like skitters around and everything. And then it's just all kind of like, it's like the cover, it looks green and it tastes acidic in how it sounds. It's really interesting production wise.
That's an interesting to make because the intro, which I didn't really think had much to do with anything, is like they discover this old cassette tape and they're like, oh, it's called Fuck the Fuck Off, Motherfucker. Well, I got an old cassette deck, let's throw it in. And when you think of it like that, it's got like this weird desiccated sound to it. Like the scratches are just like, you know, the cassette failing, the scratching against the plastic and stuff. And that kind of makes sense for like the scratchiness of the instruments, like, and the deep, like the vinyl scratches on it sound kind of edgy and like, yeah. Honestly, the only two things I don't like on here are tracks 8 and 9. Like, fuck both those tracks. Like, again, I don't understand why I do not understand it. Maybe it's on purpose. Why the fucking ICP tracks together on their solo tracks are always so fucking annoying. With the like 3 Rings on his very first EP, but that's back before they even knew they'd be doing more of this shit. But whenever they collaborate on these shits, they're terrible. Like they're always the most annoying shit.
I think it's either because I don't know. Maybe it's something probably having to do with like one is writing for themselves and then the other one has to come in and
yeah. So
maybe then it's not their idea. Well, I know what you're about to say, but the thing is that this is actually I will give credit to Shaggy. This is the beginning. This is him writing this is all written by him. And
okay,
that was posted in the advertising.
That makes me well, first of all, stretch nuts. There you go. That explains that.
Yeah, that explains that.
I give him a lot of credit for Electric Kool-Aid because I think Electric Kool-Aid is very impressive in terms of like I drew the comparison way back on Meltdown, way back like 20 minutes ago, but like that sort of imagery. Now he's able to conjure that up on his own, so that's impressive. So you don't like Psychopathic Soldier? No,
I just kind of find it like it's just a little bit cheesy, and maybe I'm a little bit biased because I know what the point of that track is. That is a diss track because this is right at the start of when Twisted and ICP broke up on a relationship level, and so this is that. That's him.
You're ruining it for me. God damn it! Now I get it.
I know.
Okay.
It's so I think I maybe that's my fault, but it's like with that context added onto it, I'm just like, come on, Shaggy, why are you writing that?
I thought it was just like your average battle rap aimed at the nameless, target of every battle rap, which is you.
I wish it was.
Nah, never mind. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now, and you kind of spoiled it for me. Seven Deadly, is that okay, ruin another one for me. Although, I mean, I was kind of ruining this for myself. Is Seven Deadly is supposed to be one of their Christian-y type things? Although they're not Christian. I know they're not Christian, but is that supposed to be like a messagey type thing where it's like?
I don't think so. I think it is. I think it's just your standard. I'm a killer, but like me doing this is like going to ruin my soul type track. I don't think it's anything past that. I don't think so. I wouldn't call it that. I mean, certainly.
I like that on a production level. I think also if he wrote that himself, that's some of his better.
Shaggy does it as much as Shaggy is a part of ICP and holds that same like I believe in a heaven and a God type thing as Jay does. I think Shaggy is much less fanatical at points about the idea than Jay is.
Revolution 17, by the way, reminds me. That's like sort of reminds me of, to go back to something we were talking about before, Muggs sort of like Elephants on Acid kind of thing. Like,
I'm shocked again. I'm shocked that is on here.
What'd you say?
I would never think. I'm shocked that is on here. I would never think in a million years that ICP, either one, especially Shaggy, would have a Revolution 9 reference track on an album of theirs. But here you go.
Yeah. You haven't gotten to Elephants on Acid yet in your Cypress listening, right?
No, I haven't gotten that one yet. No.
Yeah. Get back to me when you get there and tell me that doesn't sound like the type of shit Muggs is doing on that album specifically. So that's one of my favorite things on here. And I think it's kind of a companion track to the last track on is Bloody Sunday next? Because that would be a great transition.
No, sadly, it's not. It's a bad one. But by the way, just real quick before we leave fuck off, motherfucker, I just want to say real quick, because we've been avoiding the elephant in the room, fuck you, Shaggy, for wasting the instrumental of Art of Noise on the Stretch Nuts song. That beat is so good because you can't ever go wrong with an Art of Noise sample of that song. You can't go wrong. But that's the track you chose to use it for. I hate you.
The second verse on Stretch Nuts is maybe my least favorite fucking Shaggy verse ever. I couldn't even pay attention to the fucking beat. Like the second verse on that is just so goddamn annoying. I was just like yelling at my phone. I was going to get groceries at that point. Everybody's so concerned listening. I was just so like I was trapped in my car. I decided I was going to listen.
Trapped in the car.
Again, trapped in the fucking car, and
he's trying to get out the door as quick as he can.
It was my homie's baby mama.
The player turns off.
Is my homie's baby mama situation all over again with another one of their worst fucking songs? Yeah, ugh. But other than that, those two songs back to back, this is pretty decent, and by the Shaggy curve, great. And there's interesting stuff on here, genuinely interesting, genuinely experimental. Like you said, the production has a nice ragged quality to it. I'd recommend
to get my recommendations out of the way real quick. I think that this is the inverse of the debut. I actually think the first 6 tracks are the main highlights of this album when you're going from Tell These Bitches all the straight to Tonight I'm Yours. Tonight I'm Yours is really interesting because of the sampling. You also get the Eazy-E chorus sample hook scratching on Too Dope. I'm a Too Dope. I don't know how it goes, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That track's great. So I think that's where, for me, the highlights are, along with, of course, Electric Kool-Aid, which is just fucking insanity in the best way.
Which has a 1.7, by the way, on RYM. I don't know who's doing the fucking...
RYM, ICP...
I don't know who's doing the Juggalo track ratings here. Yeah, I don't know who's...
You can't trust RYM with ICP ratings. They still think that Wizard of the Hood is a horrorcore album. It's not a fucking horrorcore album. There's like murder on very little... Thing. Yeah, there's nobody dies.
Right. It's not a Necro album. I mean, Necro doesn't more than kill people. I mean, he does stuff to them after he kills them. But
the garbage bag, for instance.
Yeah. But yeah, I would actually have the opposite opinion of you. I think that Electric Kool-Aid Onward is the more interesting stuff. Although I think the title track and Too Dope also are very interesting, like mainly on the production level. Although again, Shaggy vocally he's not detracting. I would say my assessment of his vocal performance on here goes somewhere between holding his own to not detracting.
What he's saying at times can be really fucking stupid, but he's saying it really well now. That's how I look at it.
I mean, we can call this the Capadonna scale. Yeah, we'll call it, I feel like there's a lot of parallels to be made there between him and Kappa. Or You God, for that matter. So... Didn't they tour together?
Shaggy or who?
Didn't they tour together?
Wu-Tang and ICP? No, but they have had mixtures of coming around. Like Method Man was once at the Gathering.
Yeah, that tracks.
Like ODB obviously was on that feature for.
Yeah, I mean that didn't go so well.
Oh yeah, that didn't go so well. It was not their fault. That was ODB. ODB did that, but because he couldn't figure out what the song was about.
It was about bitches.
Well, no, he made it about bitches. It wasn't a song about bitches. And he made it a song, and then
eventually, that's what we came up with, was a song about.
He paid $500,000 for his fucking verse. Oh shit. Okay.
Well, Damon Dash got that money, I believe.
Well, yeah. Luckily, you know what?
Oh God!
Had to pay for?
Fuck my life. Speaking of grifters, shout out to
no
Hulk
one
Hogan.
had to pay for this. In his creepy ass face.
God fucking damn it! Fuck you,
this
Juan.
Fucking staring
Maybe
at you.
This shit. This goddamn garbage.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bizarre section of the bonus episode.
Welcome to the bizarre.
In which we get to talk about 2 EPs from each of them from tours that were given out that definitely feel like their tour
audience
album.
members, so apparently.
Yeah, definitely feels like it. Brother. So here's the thing. Unlike where we get to the Shaggy EP, I hate this, but for different reasons. And it's something that people should be aware of when they're that's a topic to me when it comes to listening to not just Jay but ICP in general, is that their dads, especially by this point, this is 2018. They are full on dads by this point, and they're embarrassing at points, like your dad. Like your dad when he wants to come and support you at the big game, or when he's, seeing you guys have a party, he's like, I'm going to bust a move on you. That's them. That's what they're, especially Jay, because that is Jay. That is who he is. That's just how they're going to be, which, here's my thing, right? Even though your dad can be embarrassing, even though you hate it, you're rolling your eyes, you can't stand it, it's still your dad. You're still like, yeah, you know what? You go do you, dad. You don't hate your dad for it. You're just like, here he goes again. He's going to show us his steam model train set down in the basement. He wants to show my friends, which is a lot different from Eminem, who's trying to be like, I'm cool and come to the skateboard park with your friends. And he hits his groin on a rail. That's Eminem. Jay just wants to show you his train set. He wants to make some songs and then say hey kids, here they are. Yeah. And that's what the CP is.
To be fair, Eminem's rich enough that he builds the skate park so he can skate in with his kid.
It doesn't let anyone else in, but they can watch him.
Yeah. Hey, Haley, watch me do this stale fish. And then he pulls a groin muscle. Although I think that the musical equivalent of watching someone pull a groin muscle is watching Violent J try his hand over a Millie followed by Black Beatles. I did laugh out loud when Black Beatles came in.
It was pretty fucking funny. I think he does okay on a Millie, but then the minute after Millie, right when we hit that, is when it all goes to shit. I remember listening back to this because I only ever heard it once prior. Is that I was like, I remember hating this track. The first 2 beats, he's doing well. What happened? Where was I hating this? And it immediately goes wrong.
Doing well is terrible.
It all goes wrong.
Best Friend is okay. So my review.
Yeah.
My review should hit different with wrestling fans because I said that this is worse Hulk Hogan related music than Hulkster in Heaven and I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac. So if you know those songs, Best Friend is worse than those songs. Best Friend is the Evad Sullivan of fucking ICP songs.
He just loves Shaggy so much. And, if you couldn't tell after an over 15 plus year career that he really liked the guy he works with. Here's a track to let you know.
For 7 fucking interminable minutes.
But yeah, he just loves his buddy. And and I've heard enough from the background to know that this is apparently this is a tour CD. These are leftovers or low effort tracks. This is apparently a leftover from when he was in his super happy pop phase, if you remember, from Missing Link Found. Patrick, remember the Jesus Recollection album?
Yeah.
This is the Religious Awakening. This is from that era.
This should have remained a missing link. This link should have been buried.
Didn't even if it never even showed up on their outtake album prior, and then comes up here like 2 years later. Yeah, that's probably a problem. Sometimes just because it's free doesn't mean you need to put it out.
You know what you could do is just release instrumentals to people on fucking CDRs. Give them there. Like, here's the Carnival of Carnage.
This is something we were never going to. This is something we were never going to ever discuss or plan to talk about on this. But by just the way, hey, Jay, Shaggy, I know. Just a quick announcement: if you ever feel like you don't have material to put out and you want to give something to the fans, for the love of God, please give us some instrumental albums. Because your instrumentals are so good, I'm shocked you have never gotten around to it.
I mean, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that my, disease of whining about not getting instrumental versions has spread to our producer. But yeah, like some of these instrumentals are great. Like honestly, the Race Shangri-La instrumentals are some of the best, I would say. I mean, I'm probably misusing the term new metal, but I feel like that's they're in the new metal view, and they're great. I think the Wizard of the Hood instrumentals are great. I think Mikey Clark is incredibly talented, and you seem to be on good terms with him again. So yeah, next time you have something that the fans on tour, don't dig up shit from your Jesus era and hand it to people like it's a treat, because this wasn't a treat. This was like Tootsie Roll with a razor blade in it. Like,
I know you got the instrumentals because you have posted a few on box sets. I know that you got, and it's only like a couple you've posted. Post all of them. Give me it. Come on, man.
Yeah. Don't give us Best Friend. That was a favor to nobody. Yeah, don't listen to this. This is as bad as watching a Hulk Hogan match. Fuck out of here.
The closest you get, I will say real quick, the closest you get to anything good on here is A Fine Day right at the start. And what
I hate his flow on, though. I mean, I get what you're saying. It's the closest thing to good, but his flow's like really annoying.
It's very jarring, but I also will say that that's a point to be made right here at this moment, is that this is in 2018. This is where this is started. It's slowly built from Mighty Death Pop through albums, but here's where I think it begins: is Jay starts utilizing an off-kilter flow. From here on out, 2018 post-wise, there's a lot of tracks on albums, both his own and on when we get to Yum Yum Bedlam, where he starts doing like what I would call like rickety nursery rhyme flows. He gets really into that. And while sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I always admire that Jay is always switching up his stuff. He never sounds the same in any era, vocally and performance-wise. And here from here on out, he's doing something really, trying to do something really different that I don't think a lot of people have tried. And no matter how I feel about how he's performing it, if it works or it doesn't, I really respect it.
Yeah, fair enough point. It's the only thing on here that's actually has some musical merit.
Merit going forward.
Yes,
absolutely.
And they trace a through line to stuff that is better. That he's working something out there. I didn't enjoy listening to it, but now that you said that, I can see where it evolved into something of value later on. Fuck this EP. Moving on to
what doesn't, but what also doesn't have value.
Go ahead.
EP, which is which unlike with Brother, where it's like, okay, there's at least like it's your dad aspects. This is just bad. I just hate this. I don't get like embarrassment. That I just don't. I just fucking dislike this. This is not good. This is
a drag, man.
This is all the worst. This in 4 tracks accumulates all the worst aspects that could that is not only defines like Shaggy, but like possibly ICP in general. In like 4 perfect tracks, where it's like you have the first track, which is like nothing. It's not. It doesn't. I get what he's trying to write for, but it doesn't work. So that's a concept track that fails. You get Peekaboo, which I was okay. So when I first heard this, I was on like a Discord with some people on a Juggalo Discord, like talking about this. I was like, I'm upset that this is the 3rd song I know of, rap song I know of that is like has incest as a topic on it. And someone went, "Oh, so you haven't heard the original?" I said, "There's no fucking way that this is a cover of the MC Ren song I heard about on Call Out Culture. There's no way that's what this is." And it is. Why you would choose to cover MC Ren's song about incest, I cannot fucking fathom.
When he rapped the line about dad comes in, I was just like,
Oh no.
Oh
no.
Okay.
They're eating good flashbacks. It's never good when the dad comes in. Oh, God.
What I will say is I like the beat on the first song. I actually think that beat's kind of decent, and I could kind of hear like maybe like Lil Peep or pre-shit tier X coming in on that and doing something with it. Like maybe. I don't know. It's got like a really lurchy tempo to it that you'd have to be a very specific type of rapper to do something with. Shaggy's not that rapper. That song is very boring him on it. It's still by far the best thing on here. Peekaboo is one of the worst songs I've ever heard. When Ren does it. When Shaggy does it, it's much worse.
It's just taking a hole and digging deeper, and it's not a good time. And then you have Dunno. It's weird to say on your own. I don't know.
I don't know
what to say about Dunno.
Yeah, sucks. But I do know it sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. And then we have the techniques and tactics, which on streaming is the remix version, which is an old version. It's just stayed old and never been made new because it has. I give it a little bit of benefit of doubt because it's an old verse. But oh my God, Jay, why would you say that? Why would you say that? Don't say that. Don't ever say that. I know what
he makes reference to.
He talks about how.
So we talked about Easy before, so he I guess makes another Easy reference. You could say.
No, it's worse. I think it's worse. His techniques and tactics to kill people. The tactic here is that he's gonna throw you. He's gonna give you up to a gay crackhead with AIDS. Fine. And gonna throw you in a hood full of gay crack hood with AIDS. That's what he's gonna do. There's no. I know it's an old line. I know it's an old verse, but we should stay fucking dead.
Stay dead and buried.
And that's the thing. That line, that entire verse, isn't on the original version. They took the original version off streaming. I don't know. Maybe they're beefing with Project Born that was apparently on this album. I don't fucking know why. But
I don't know.
They had to put
I'm not aware of the
on it.
vagaries of Juggalo beef. This is It was certainly a gloomy Saturday when I listened to this, or whatever day of the week it was. This is fucking garbage.
It's terrible.
I don't understand how this is a bonus for anybody to get this at a show. Even the cover.
Imagine using this to promote your album where you're actually doing really well, Shaggy, and then this is what you give them to be like. You should come to go see the tour and buy my album. It's like this is nothing like your album. Your album is way more possibly respectable compared to this. You don't want this being your promo material. Come on.
Well, speaking of bad promos for things that are slightly better, Yum Yum Lure was supposed to lure you into Yum Yum Bedlam, and I can't imagine why it would do that because
this is essentially ICP's Sorry for the Wait, because this is all just like they clearly. There was a point in the production of Yum Yum Bedlam where they clearly scrapped whatever they had, and these are the scraps. And I'm glad that they did because I think the album is all the better for it. But sadly, still get these, and it's really not good material here. The only two things that are notable about this album is that Smell of the Rain is actually not a bad track. Again, it's something where I really had to get used to Jay using the off-kilter flow that he's still working on by this point. Because it's really crazy. He's trying to use an AABC rhyme scheme, which I've never heard anyone do, and it kind of doesn't work, but it also kind of does. I don't know. It's the most tolerable track to me on here. And then for some reason there's an Alien Ant Farm collab. I don't know why.
Wait, is that Clown? That's the last one?
No, it's the fucking... Hold on, I gotta actually look up the fucking track list. What's the one that's before? What's the one that's before Smell of the Rain?
Really? I must have not been paying attention. I did not know that was Alien Ant Farm. I thought that was a rock beat. I did not like that track, so that makes sense. The stuff I liked on here, Actually like this more than you and Legend, surprisingly. I would not say I liked it. I thought the intro was cool. I feel like they do rehash that, though, on Bedlam, as so they do reuse.
Setting it up.
Yeah. I think that Ding Ding Doll is fine for being a tired, like, trope, essentially. It's the Chucky doll. It's the Twilight Zone thing
It's
about
just
the
standard
doll.
horrorcore track.
It's standard horror stuff. It's very...
They were setting it up as the single, if you remember back when the album was coming out. And I'm glad it never ended up being what this was, but it's not the worst thing ever.
One of my complaints about this trilogy, I mean, this isn't part, like, this was the leftovers, then we have the trilogy, is that I don't feel like, and you as somebody who's into lore should be a little annoyed by this, I don't think the characters necessarily, I think the last one, and maybe the Pug Ugly one, has a little bit more, like, I don't think the characters really factor into the concept.
I think the theming for we can get into it later, but I will go to bat for them, that I think the theming is a little bit... On Vic, it's not very well explained. On Bedlam, it's messy because they had one theme and then they changed it to another one halfway through.
Yeah, I think Vic gets it better across than the other ones. I don't think it's well explained, but I think actually the idea of ugliness comes across more in the music. Vic's my favorite though, so maybe like of the three actually. So
let's get into that. Let's talk.
So basically, the only things I like on here are the intro. Smell of Rain's cool. I actually like the off-kilter flow.
I like the smell of the rain falling.
And Clown has stuff to recommend it, but not for the length of time it goes on, and the hook is fucking annoying.
It's too long, and
it's way too fucking long. So this it's interesting that you said that it was like Sorry for the Wait, where it was just like a content dump of what they had left, so people would shut up and stop bothering them. Sounds like it. Anyway, let's move on to Bedlam.
I actually really like this album. I know that you actually went down in your opinion on this upon re-listening.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that apparently I liked it more and I didn't remember listening to it. Okay. So now I have lots. Okay, Clown Drippin's hilarious. First of all, I don't know if it's intentionally hilarious, but I think the idea of them playing on Drip with all the puns on that's really fucking funny. Here Comes the Carnival is very good. I think okay, so you don't like Panic Attack, I'm to understand.
I don't like Panic Attack. It's probably tied for my least favorite track on the album.
Is it because it's so long, or is it because of the Richard Cheese stuff, or what don't you like about it?
I don't like it because I don't think Jay's singing on it is good.
Is that Jay or Richard Cheese?
No. Jay is singing. What you're forgetting is that Richard Cheese has his own whole second section that's just part of the song. It's just like a long interlude. But on the actual main Panic Attack song, it's like, I'm having a panic attack. I can't really stand that. I can't really take it seriously.
Yeah, okay, that's I know what you're talking about now. That is kind of annoying.
The Richard Cheese stuff is great, and it takes up because if you look at the track list, it says that Panic Attack is 7 minutes long. In actuality, about 2 minutes of that is taken up by Richard Cheese as an interlude, doing like a cover of "Fuck the World." It doesn't tell you that, but that is why it's 7 minutes long.
That's all. He does the lounge "Fuck the World" part. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's all him.
I thought he was also singing deliberately badly, and once I realized I thought that was Richard Cheese trying to be like terrible.
It's Jay all day, baby, and and it doesn't go well.
That makes me like it a little less. I thought that was like a irony thing.
Yeah, I like it as a content idea.
I think
talking about
verses on it though, I think are great, and I think I think that the actual rapping on it and the idea of the song, the concept is really good. Like, I think that's actually a really fun song. I think The Drunk and the Addict was way better than I expected.
Oh yeah, that one's great. People have brought this up before, but this is actually a shockingly personal at times album for ICP. They've never really done something like this where it's like talking about their
too personal for my liking.
I don't know. I like The Drunk in the Attic. I think works really well.
Well, that's not the one. I meant the.
Which one?
Oh yeah, like Ain't No Time is what I was referring to.
I don't know what is up with Ain't No Time because Jay does have an ex-wife, but the thing is, I believe. I know Sugar Slam. Yeah, and I know for a fact that he is on incredibly good terms with her. Very mutually good terms. So why he wrote a song like this, I can't really understand other than like, I don't know. No, I really can't really fathom why he wrote a song like this. I know that there's two themes to Bedlam that got all mixed up in the creation of this. It's like loyalty and regret. And I'm sure that this was a part of the loyalty section of that songwriting, but it's like, again, why you that theme with this topic, I can't fathom.
I mean, maybe it's supposed to encompass both themes, like since it is about her and she's supposed to know that, but me as the listener, I only get just like bitterness and vengeance out of that. It seemed very jarring pudding, and like it's well delivered for what it is, but it's just, again, like the comparison that I make in my review is keep going back to Wu-Tang on this, and I swear I'm not just trying to plug the Wu-Tang episode. Have you listened to Iron Man by Ghostface?
I did listen to Iron Man by Ghostface.
Do you remember Wildflower on Iron Man by Ghostface?
Vaguely, but go ahead.
Ghostface ranting for 2 minutes about a woman named Jamie Summers. Pretty much. It's like the intro track. It's just like going nuts on this woman, Jamie Summers, who I believe was a groupie, I hate to use the term, but somebody who basically was involved with him, and it's just like a completely just ad hominem attack on this woman. That's what this reminded me of. It's just like a broadside. That's what it feels like. And I guess, and to go to our other reference point for the episode, kind of feels a little bit like Kim, Eminem. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Feels a little like that. This might be his Kim moment. Yeah,
and it also feels very incongruous to the instrumental, which I don't care for very much. The instrumental reeks. I know you like it better than I do. Kind of reeks a little bit of Everlast, which is funny because there's a La Coca Nostra reference earlier in the album, which I think he's involved with. My thing is that like I absolutely don't like this track lyrically. I think musically, yeah, I would say that I do enjoy it, and I'm one of the rare people on the ICP fandom side that actually thinks Roadside Ghost as a feature is pretty good. At least, again, vocally. I've been told in hindsight that the "I hope you end up missing" line was apparently his idea. I would like to say to him that you shouldn't have said that. Optics on that, not great.
Not great. On that. Not great that's like you hear this song and you're like, you know what I need to add to this? I need to add that you're glad that that you'd be pretty happy if she just went off the face of this earth. I need to put that in there.
Yeah, like, that's where the vibe comes from. And it doesn't have, like, given the extremely personal, specific content of the song, like, I really wish my ex-wife would just poof. Like, poof. Yeah. But on
she's already not in your life, dude.
On a more positive note, I think Bitch I'm Fine has a lot of personal content in it, mingled with, like, very sensationalistic details that kind of make that work better. Like, Jay's talking about his heart problems, his health problems, but he also puts in a lot of stuff that's clearly, like, not realistic.
No, he's just being funny.
He's just being funny.
He gives it a funny, but he keeps it in.
And he flows great on that. That's really fun. That's another cool Keith type moment for me.
I'm unlike you. I'm pretty hot on, like, actually a majority of this album. Like, Here Comes the Carnival and Carnival of Lights to me. Here's the thing about because I actually could say a lot about this album. Like, this whole album to me, I don't think I've ever brought it up before, at least on the podcast when we did the clown episode, the previous ICP episode. Was that Jay at one point used to talk about how he's like with the second deck, and he's right about this, is that we don't make really horrorcore anymore, or at least we're making our own brand. And he said if I had to call it something, I would call it wicked pop. And that has always stuck with me, that he's right. They don't make horrorcore, they make pop horrorcore. And this to me is the best album. This is them finally figuring out and going, this is like a 50-50 split of the best mix of, like, pop and horrorcore. Like, this is the achievement of it. Like, it's right down the middle. No one way or the other. It's entirely modern production. There's no really too many things that I think of where it's like, oh yeah, that's old ICP with them and their throwbacks. There's really not. It's mostly pretty modern production. You get even fucking producer tags on this and everything. it feels like such an advancement for them there, and it's just a good time and like really explorative and like psychedelic at points because they have a whole new batch of producers. Like,
I thought the producer tags were definite. That was I don't want to say jarring, but I wasn't expecting to hear a producer tag. That would be like hearing Yo Pierre coming here on an ICP album, which by the way would be nice to hear. But there's a
lot of fucking neat sounds that they go over here. This is like really explorative for them to me because it's like you get like Here Comes the Carnival and Carnival Lights, which are just super pop, super psychedelic and bright tracks.
I mean, I feel like you think way more down on this album than I am. I mean, I gave it a 5. I think I could be talked into a 6 on this. Here Comes the Carnival is very fun. Carnival of Lights is great, and Something to See is fine. I feel like if you end at Carnival of Lights, I might 6 because I think Ain't No Time is a very sour way to send out, and then
you get Something to See
afterwards, and Something to See is totally fine. If you do Carnival of Lights into Something to See, and then you you save Ain't No Time for where it shows up in the remix version later on, that's a much stronger version.
I absolutely agree. I think, especially to the idea of the remix being better. But
by the way, shout out to the RYM comment box that thought Heart and Soul was going to be either a cover of the standard or even better of the Joy Division. So
I know, I remember seeing that. That was and great. I like and I'll say I know you don't, but I like Heart and Soul. There's something this it's kind of funny to have the difference of the dichotomy between Panic Attack and Heart and Soul, because that to me is like what I talked about before. It's like ICP and J can be cheesy, and there's a fine line that they ride of it. Panic Attack is at points with the singing too cheesy to me, and the singing doesn't work. But on Heart and Soul, the singing and the cheesiness does work. I think it's fun for that.
Yeah,
made your way to the other side, ho. Like,
all
that is great.
Complete opposite mindset. I'm interested to see where you fall because I didn't post a review of this of the 80s rock ballad when we get to there on Vic. Because
I'm excited to talk about that track.
Same. I'm gonna keep those cards on that. Fuck Slapnuts. Slapnuts.
Yeah,
terrible.
No, that's probably like I said. There's two tracks I'm especially not hot on this album. That's the other one. But I think it's more so because it's just painfully generic for what they've ever done.
Yeah, there's nothing new in that track. I think that it just has a really like stale sound to it. And I just
that is probably the one.
Why ever rehash the worst catchphrase in wrestling history? Like, no one liked that catchphrase to begin with. And
no, man, Jeff Jarrett's all over AEW, and he's using it again. Did you know that? He's using it again. He brought it back.
Wait.
You didn't know that? No.
AEW?
AEW for like the last 2 months as of this recording, ladies and gentlemen. Evergreen content.
Fucking damn. Okay, so... God damn. So is he is he wrestling, or is he just like an authority figure?
I forget if he's wrestling, but he is definitely the major member of a faction.
That's great that they lost William Regal or Steven Regal, whatever, Lord Regal, and they got Jeff Jarrett to go and
he's bringing back Slapnuts. I think they've been selling merch with Slapnuts on it. He's been bringing it back
with his dumb fucking powder guitar too. Like, and great.
Oh,
great.
I'm sure.
That's what we need is a Jeff Jarrett revival.
Double J, double E, double R, double ET, whatever.
Yeah.
Double go fuck yourself, whatever it is. Double birds for you, brother.
We can talk about Queens in its remixed version, I guess, because
I also want to hold that card close though when we get to Pug Ugly. I actually
remix. Yeah, you know what? We'll hold that one. We'll talk about that when we get to it. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
But we can't talking about the original Queens though. It is again, it's cheesy. I do think it's
I like the intention more than the execution. I like the verses. I think the ad-libs are hilarious, actually. Ad-libs kind of remind me of, do you remember the Afro Man novelty song, Because I Got High?
I feel like I know what you're talking about, but...
It's like, I would, but I got high.
I think I do know what you're talking about, yeah.
I got high. But then it's like, there's one line on it. It's, I was going to go to court, but I got high. I would have paid my child support, but I was hot. And the ad-lib track goes, no, you wasn't. Like, the ad-lib track's, like, commenting back on it. Like, the ad-libs on this song kind of remind me of that. Like, I think the ad-libs on this song are hilarious.
I remember getting a pretty dumb smile when Shaggy has his verse and he goes, who goes and saves your ass again and again and again and again and again and again, and he starts repeating because, like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like that was actually a very pointed for his girl line. Like, I cheated on you.
Sexy, hot as hell. Who gets your ass up out of jail?
And cheated on you. Yeah, I like that song more than I dislike that song, but the chorus is fucking terrible. Oh, that chorus. Ugh, that chorus is rough. But
I like it. I like it. I think it goes to like that it's again going to that kind of weirdly psychedelic, like off kilter type stuff, which is bolstered because here it is, by the way, just to finish off on what we talked about earlier. This is Jay now officially doing the off kilter flow. He's doing it all over the place. Shaggy, oddly enough, has now become the Rock to ICP. He is the one you go in for the I'm doing my standard rap stuff. I'm the solid bass. And then Jay is now the one where it used to be the other way around. Now Jay is the one who's all over the place doing whatever he wants with his voice and being off kilter and going off beat and doing weird rhyme schemes. Although unlike Shaggy, when he did it, it's not because he doesn't know how to rap. Jay is doing it because he wants to experiment.
Out of competence. Yeah. It's not out of just
and nothing highlights that more than Insomnia. I'm curious to know what you think of Insomnia. This will be the last thing we talk about, but I really want to know what you think of Insomnia.
I liked it, but I was taken aback by it, honestly. I mean, I think it's
really fucking weird.
It is strange. It is strange. I liked it as an experiment. I'm weirdly wanting to come back to this album, actually, because it's interesting that I listened to it once, had no opinion of it, didn't remember. I mean, listened to it once, had a more positive opinion of it, didn't remember I listened to it, came back and have strangely strong opinions on it. And then when I think about it, there's stuff I want to revisit. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you keep saying psychedelic, and I don't know if I agree with psychedelic, but there were choices made on this album. And as an artistic statement, it's definitely a stronger artistic statement than I'm looking at their long players. I'm a dad, like fucking Jay right now. They're long players. As far as artistic statements go, it's definitely probably their most creative artistic statement in terms of like trying to do something since Hell's Pit. If you think about it, Tempest was very confused. Bang Pow Boom was a collection of like ideas that didn't cohere. Mighty Death Pop was like trying to like, same sort of thing. And then, then they did the clown step shit. Then Fred Fury was trying to recapture ideas.
It's like a throwback, And then this to me is like, that's what I said. This is them figuring out, like going full on modern in a way. They like, again, whole new producer lineup that's very current, thanks to some of the people they have on their label. It's the producer tags, everything like that. I mean, shit. Like the reason I want to also highlight Insomnia is because it's like there's the second part to Insomnia, the outro, where it's just a straight up cloud rap banger. Plays like I'm dreaming, I'm sleeping, I'm in it. And like that whole section is like it fucking takes me to another level. I'm like, whoa,
very new territory. So yeah, I'm gonna come back to this. I agree, but until then, Wicked Wick the Weed. Just for the sake of trying to get through the last three, because we do have a second episode to record tonight. Spoiler alert. So, and this was supposed to be done in 5 minutes.
No, I'm sorry, people. We'll get
no. I'm just for the fact that the gorilla is going to take a long ass time. All right. So this.
Wicked Vic. Just to point it out. Here's the concept. Here is that after Young Bedlam, they said they were going to make 3 seeds that are on the cover for each one, and this is the first one. This is Wicked Vic, which is like a violence themed character, I guess, because of all the violence on it. Like this is as weird as it is to say, this is them kind of coming after such a new album. This in a way is them coming back to the roots a little bit, because the last couple projects have been kind of low on especially the last album was kind of low on just straight up murder. There actually really wasn't much murder talk that much on the last album. This one just gives you all.
Up to his ex-wife.
But I do like this.
But he only wished she was dead in an obscure way, as opposed to actively beat her up with a clown hammer or whatever.
Yeah.
This one's. I actually enjoyed the first 4 tracks on this a lot, and then the 5th track is more of a cute idea that kind of plays itself out. The 6th track's one of the worst things I ever heard, and the 7th is a better pass on the track I did not like about the ex-wife from the LP.
Yeah, the remix is really nice because it's kind of a curious movement in with like a cloudy trip hop type beat. It's a really nice remix. If anyone ever wants to hear ICP over trip hop, I always recommend the Wraith remix albums they did, because that actually has a lot of that, and that's really fun to listen to.
Oh, wait, they did a whole remix of that? Oh, shit.
They hit it. They did. There's a remix album, a double remix album, where all the tracks from Shangri-La and Hell's Pit got remixed by various people in their clique. And a lot of them go a lot of different places. There's a lot of failed experiments in there, but there is some top-notch remix material in there that makes it so like it's stuff you couldn't even fathom ICP would ever go over.
Well,
like,
now we have to do a 3rd clown episode. We'll do that. We'll do Twisted. We'll do Dark Lotus.
There's a lot of material to cover. Cover supervillains, which
We're
is like
do the
ICP failing to do MF Doom.
You'll finally get to hear all my haystack material.
Good old Boondocks, Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Scarecrow, you know.
I'm sure Caleb is just fucking loving this right now, that there's going to be a 3rd clown rap episode.
He's probably already looking at the time length for this episode and being like, it's just still going. Still going. But it's supposed to be quick, guys. But as for the Wicked Vic, yes, the Hungry Like the Wolf cover, we get it in and out. You know, they're having a laugh. Again, it's your dad. It's your dad, ladies and gentlemen. What
About
are you gonna do?
Into that, I tapped out. I could not make it through that.
That's
fine. One of my favorite as a child, and they absolutely butchered it. It's fun. I'm sure they had a blast doing it. I don't know why I had to hear it.
Maybe what we need to do is hear the twisted version of Hungry Like the Wolf, because they also did a cover of that.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Everybody. Yeah, I guess Juggalos love Hungry Like the Wolf. But
I mean, who doesn't love the Wolf? It's a great song, but I mean, I could sing it. I'm not going to make you listen to it.
Anyone could sing it, but that doesn't mean everyone should.
I would argue they didn't really sing it so much.
They just really yelled it really loudly. But as for the rest of the tracks here, these are really strong. I'm not much of a fan of Mutilator, because I think that chorus with the guitar is a bit too off tone from the rest of the track for me. But I'm actually into Hyde Park Peddler. I think that one's I think that's fun with the Calico piano.
Hyde Park Peddler would be really fun at about half the length, because I think it has like enough jokes and a good concept to sustain like a good 2.5 minute maybe. Mm-hmm. But like that's one time we get some gross like sex misogynist type stuff that I don't think is really like as great. But the Send in the Clowns is awesome. Clown Bounce is a lot of fun too. Like I think those are as strong as anything they've ever done, and it looks great too. All the intros on these are like uniformly great.
Oh yeah, and I do agree with your review. By the way, please, ICP, I know you like to do it, but you don't have to spam the sound effect button as much as you think you do. You don't got to spam it. You can have it in there, but don't spam your sound effects. Plenty of rap tracks have sound effects, but there's a point where there's too many, and we'll get to that on Bloody Sunday when we get to it, because there is a track that I think gets kind of upset by the sound effect on it, but we'll get to that. But we can move on to unless you have anything else to say. The Pug Ugly.
I'm just gonna, for the sake of brevity, move on. This actually does not have a
It's the Pug
listing on, so I have to.
Fucking thing has been waiting in the fucking queue for over like 3 fucking months. Stupid. Anyway,
the Juggalo bias and RYM needs to end.
It really does. It really does.
So I actually need to consult Spotify on that. I mean, I guess I can consult Discography.
So I'm on Discogs too now. So I love this EP. It's a lot of fun. This is really good.
Ever done for sure.
This is really good. This is like This might, like, you know how I just said, like, Wicked Vic was kind of a throwback to all of their stomp and murder tracks. Well, this is past even that. This is a throwback to, like, them, like, in their Ringmaster days, because there's G-Funk all over this. There's quite a bit of G-Funk on this, on, like, the first, like, 3 tracks.
According to
the Scrub Gang.
According to the reviewer of Record Legends, they reunite with Mikey Clarkson. Does he do all of this? I
believe this was like a lot of him. Like this is like he was trickling back in with Wicked Vic and like and stuff, but I think this was where they officially linked back up together for a majority of the tracks. I don't know if it was all of them. I don't know. But I do think it was a majority of these tracks are his.
Yeah, and you can tell it's like his sound, his distinct sound is very welcome, and I feel like they sound reinvigorated over it. It's just it's a lot of fun. That's really all I have to say.
Hooks, like really bouncy. It's showing that they still really got it in this style, and that if they wanted to, like they can do this like really well. Well,
what I will say is
go ahead.
No, I was going to say what really shows that this is reinvigorating, works well, is that there's 2 tracks on here that I did not expect to work that totally did. And I'm completely stepping on your analysis of the album. I just going to the stuff I'm sure you wanted to talk about. But 80s rock ballad.
Yes, it's
good as hell.
It's baffling that how well this works, because it shouldn't work. It really shouldn't work when you looked at the track list and you go 80s rock ballad. Oh no, but it works. And here's the thing: Jay has had. I've said this. I've actually said this, that I think, depending on the era of Jay's voice, he can do rock songs very well. At one point, he was going to have a rock band in Psychopathic Records, but it never formulated. But I think at times he really does show that he has a very good voice for rock singing. If he wanted to, nowadays it's wishy-washy, but this is one where it really works.
And the Queen's remix, I think, improves on pretty much all of the faults I had with the original. I think it gives it a lot of punch. I think that it gets rid of a lot of the atonal, shitty aspects of it. It makes it sound like I keep referencing him. Maybe he should produce for them. It makes it sound like Muggs circa Grandmasters, where he was like making Jesus sound like he was awake. Like,
and you say that, and I know ICP are very good friends with Cypher Still. They could do it. That's the really funny thing about ICP. They actually have a huge amount of massive like sway in the music industry and connections.
Well, that's how they get
so many people.
Gathering, like they get insane lineups for the Gathering, and people are like, "Why do people work with these clowns?" Like, because they're actually respected, because people like them.
Oh yeah, no, the people in the industry always have very positive things to say. If you want to see like it visually going on, like go watch Danny Brown go to the Gathering. It's just him having a good time and being like, I love it here. Like it's so why they don't use it more, I really can't fathom. I really can't.
So yeah, this, I mean, you can talk about those tracks, like you can talk about those tracks if you like too, but yeah, like I was really expecting the worst out of, well, I don't know why I was expecting the worst out of the Queen's remix, because the other remix of the song that, I mean, I already had like mixed feelings on Queen's. I liked some stuff about it, but the stuff I didn't like, I don't know why I didn't, considering that they already remixed a track that I didn't like and improved upon it. I don't know why I was kind of dreading that. And 80s Rock Ballad, I was just kind of like, that's a lazy title, and they've had bad, like, I was just coming off Hungry Like the Wolf. I was just like, ugh.
No, yeah, it's understandable. When you saw Hungry Like the Wolf and then you see 80s Rock Ballad, you're like, oh no, time is repeating itself. It's a circle. Oh God. But it's not. And in fact, it actually, the Queen's remix, to talk about real quick from my perspective, is that I think this thing is fucking amazing. This thing is nuts. Mike P is a god. There's a reason that he was entrusted with Shangri-La just off his first jump, because he's really good. He's really good. And the thing is that he not only makes it fucking crazy experimental Queens, because what the hell are you doing going from like harsh noise electronics to like a guitar chorus? That's nuts to think for this track. But he actually successfully melds EDM with ICP. They did 2 whole albums with Young Wicked, where it never really worked outside like 2 tracks. 2 whole albums completely failed the concept. But then he comes in with 1 track to remix, and he's like, "Yeah, I got this shit," and he bangs out like a fucking like masterpiece, like fucking instrumental that'll completely rework this. It's so good. But the rest of the album, the rest of the EP is also really good because again, it's that throwback G-funk that you know ICP for, except updated, smoothed out. So and all the hooks are great. You get like the stompiness on I'm Ugly with like the Godzilla theme remix. Abracadabra is like one of the best tracks that they've ever dropped in like years.
Abra,
like Jay is rapping
Jay's
like
flow on
crazy.
that so fucking good. Like that is like, yeah, I really fucking enjoyed that. And just looking at the, by the way, shout out to the guy in the comment box who got fucking deleted talking shit. Ass showed up on his ass.
Yeah. And then even I'm Afraid with Roadside Ghost, this is a real redemption for him because I think in terms of what track he's associated with, because it's again a kind of another cloudy, oddly tropical, slow groove type track, but I think his chorus works really well, and when it goes into those swirling synths with all like the echo on them, it's like that's really nice. He's always had he has a really nice voice. It's just that now he actually has material that like isn't off-putting to mix with it.
Where do they find this? He doesn't
have
an RYM page. Like I don't believe.
Yeah, no, the whole. I think it's not even him. I think it's a band, but it's like I just always refer to him as Roadside Ghost because
I was curious about that because he doesn't have they don't have an RYM page, and I don't know. I don't want to.
Apparently, from what I got told, this is just he pulled a I forget what artist it was. It was like a fucking. Who was that guy who rapped at Kanye or Big Sean? It was like but it's like Jay just saw them once at like apparently like a live bar and was like, "You sound rad. Do you want to be on our album?" He's like, "What?" Yeah,
I love the idea. Big Sean will forever be known as the guy who rapped at Kanye. No matter what he does, it's like, oh, you got your career from just rapping at Kanye West outside the hotel.
He rapped really loudly at Kanye, and Kanye said, "If I give you this contract, will you
leave me alone?" Here's
alone? And now imagine the inverse of that, where some guy comes up to you and goes, "Do you want to be on our album?" No face paint. He's just like, "Yeah, okay, yeah." I guess some random guy. He seems big. He wants us to be on his album, and then you find out it's ICP.
Also, Roadside Ghost is a dope name. Just got to say, no.
I do think that is a really great name. Why it goes to like a country band? That's really weird. I guess it works. Roadside Ghost. New age country band. But yeah, no, everything here is great. I really love this. I really love this EP. I think that this has so far been the best. We await Woe the Weeping Weirdo. But we'll see overall, how that stacks up.
Yeah, the trajectory has been nothing but upward from a shitty start to I think the sounds have gone up. Getting Mikey Clark back in the fold has been great. I think they've sounded more inspired on each one. I think the concepts have been more fleshed out on each. And again, I was not super high on Yum Yum Bedlam, but you made me reconsider it. And so I'm going to actually come back to that.
This entire era is my second favorite of the second deck. Like outside of Mighty Death Pop, I think this. I'll say this: the album Bedlam, I think, is my second favorite behind Mighty Death Pop. But if you encapsulate so far what this entire Yum Yum era has been, I think it's my favorite thing that they've done since the second deck. I think this is my favorite era of ICP, second deck.
Well, I hate to end on such a gloomy note, but we have to end on church.
This is actually it's going to get
which is actually like
I don't want to, but
it's going to
get really sad.
It's a good album, but it's depressing, and I know that you have some context to add to this. So I'll cede the floor to you to talk about what gave us this album.
I don't like to apply narratives to albums. I've always said this. I don't like to make up like what ifs about what an artist is doing or going through when they make a project. But as we know, already even before like the lead up to when we knew about this album, Jay has been going through a lot. He has had heart problems where he is told that he, he could die, like, if he overexerts himself. He was literally having troubles just getting to his mailbox out his front door at one point. He has been going through rehab for pill addictions recently and very publicly, and he's been kind of a mess with that. And then what didn't help this is that on the announcement day of this album, on Halloween, where people got the first 2 singles to this album, which did get changed, which we'll go into it, his girlfriend passed away at the Halloween Hallowicked shows when this album was announced. And I don't know how much changed from that point on of working on this album. I do know things were changed. Like I said, those 2 singles he dropped as like little teasers to fans who are at the show. But I do know that the singles do not sound like how they sound on the album now. There was editing. So I do know he at least was still working somewhat on this album. But man, you can really feel like it's a guy trying to do his thing at times and struggling to do it because he is like just not in a good place when he's doing it. Like, I know there's plenty of sad tracks on here that allude to things that could be related to those events, but other times he's trying to make jokes. But I don't know, there's something about how he tries to make them or how they sound when he's making them that kind of just feels like he's just sludgily throwing them out there because of everything that was going on for him at the time. It's even without context, even without that context, I feel like you feel that in this album because you were saying, it's very gloomy, it's very dark. I think you get that sense from this, but knowing it more, it's even more highlighted for me that it's like it's really sometimes it's a little bit of a very odd listen for ICP because this is just like a downer most of the time. Even when it's trying to be funny, it's mostly a downer.
Yeah, that's very illuminating, and that first of all makes the last track weird, and
it makes it weird. I won't deny. It makes it weird. It makes it weird that he made it a single.
It makes it make more sense, but it also makes... I mean, it doesn't make it not a terrible song. I still hate it as a song, but at least it makes it make sense.
You're going to yell at me.
You like it as a song.
I can't deny it. Can't deny it. I think it's actually... I'm not even just going to say I like it. I think it's a really good song.
No,
I'm not even like comparing.
Do not like that.
I think it's a pretty good song. It's shockingly... I don't know. Maybe you got to go back to it, but it's like it is shocking how not offensive the song is.
Okay, it's not offensive. I don't like it.
I don't like it. Here's the thing. I get someone not liking it. I understand completely. It's another country
especially
song.
After, like, you don't, like... I mean, it makes more sense to me now. After what you said, it makes more sense, but it's still incredibly jarring in album sequence to do.
Jay tried
murder,
to pass
then a harrowing time, then some good pussy. Like, I mean, they censor it, but like, it's just it's fucking jarring.
Jay tried to pass it off that it's like, well, after all that dark stuff, to get you going, you do kind of need to laugh a little bit at life, even through all the dark stuff. So he threw that on at the end. But I do admit that it is a jarring. I've always said this to people. I essentially look at it as a bonus track, or if it was a hidden track, like you probably might not even think of it. It would be weird, but it would make a little bit more sense. But the fact that it's just blatantly the last track does make it like stick out. But as a song, own and as a detachment and think of it as a bonus track, I think it's shockingly well performed in a way that is like 80s rock ballad. Like Jay's singing mostly. He's not really rapping, but it's good singing. He's singing very well, and it's a whatever standard country ballad. But I think lyrically, is where it's interesting because again, it's not offensive. If anything, it's oddly supportive. There could be some weird context knowing the backstory of what happens before this album came out. There could be some weird context, and I don't like to do that. I don't want to apply.
You don't want to
like to make up shit.
Oriel intent, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to do that. So just taking at it for what it is, it's an oddly supportive trans, like, or at least cross-dresser, an oddly supportive cross-dresser song that makes no ill wills of anything. There's maybe a total of 2 jokes on the song, and they're at the expense of Jay, in which he's just talking about how he's like worried his skirt is too short, and that the heels make his back ache. And that's it. Other than that, it's just straight up him just being like, I like wearing women's clothing now because I think you look hot in them and I think they would look nice on me too. And now we both look really good. And that's it. That's really it.
Yeah, I don't
think
think
it's just genuine.
No, it's I don't think it's a hateful song whatsoever. I don't like it because it doesn't sound good. Like,
no, I understand that, and I can understand. And I don't. For a lot of people,
it's certainly. I don't know. It's not.
I think it's really surprising that it came out of Jay and it's just this out forth.
It's not even my least favorite song on here. Something's in My Room is my least favorite song on here. Something's in My Room.
Also, where we'll yell at me because I like that song too.
Yeah. Well, okay. So overall, I like this album. I think that it's a bummer. It's definitely a drag. Now that I know the context, it makes a lot more sense why it's the way it is. No Friends is the most depressing Jay song I've ever heard.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely
I'm so fucking alone on that song.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. It's like even the third verse where it goes into like this ballad rock era thing. It's like, I get what it's like, even then it sounds like he's putting on a front, trying to be like happy almost in a way. Again, that could just be me, but that's what it feels like now. It feels like I'm listening to it and I'm like, I'm hearing a guy who's trying to be like, it's all going to be okay. But even he's clearly not sure about it.
Yeah, I mean, and you said there are jokes, but they seem a little bit like, I mean, Scatterbrain 2 does get laughs out of me. There's one joke at the expense of Elon Musk that I think is very funny. That actually did get a laugh out of me. Horrendous Ways feels like he's kind of revisiting Mighty Death Pop tropes in a way that I appreciated. Although he does do the Nas thing where he yells what the fucking concept of the song is at the start, which I, as just a writer, I'm just like,
horrible stories, all ending in one thing.
Yeah, it's like I'm a gun. All right, Nas, we get it. You're a gun. But I get the literary device you're using here, Jay. They all die. But again, I get what he's trying. You know, he's posting his way through it on this album, essentially. So I give him a lot more grace. Now that I know this, I give him a lot more grace on certain things that are clunky about the album. I think the sonic palette he's working with in terms of production is really interesting here.
It's really interesting. It's essentially taking the one sole lone track on Bedlam that was Wretched, which was like hilarious to me because it stands out because it's literally nothing else sounds like that one song on the rest of the album. It's like this. It literally is a dark trap B&B-esque type instrumental, and then we go to here and we, there's still some eclecticism, but a majority of the tracks are kind of just that really dark trap, like very moody, like sonic palette. It is really interesting. It's probably one of, like, next to Hell's Pit, and even more so than Hell's Pit. It's probably the darkest thing production wise he's ever rapped over.
Well, what I got out of it was, I mean, partial, like, that's a great comparison that I hadn't thought of, but I also got like a little bit of a much more successful pass on the stuff they were doing on the Missing Link stuff with the dubstep, the clown step, whatever. Like, I felt like he's a little bit at that sound. I mean, maybe not as explicitly quote unquote dubstep in the sense that they were doing then, but like maybe D&B, maybe just like menacing electronic textures mixed with like sort of gloomy rock textures of, like, I guess a new metal stripe, but again, like something like In a Hole felt to me like, I mean, the Alice in Chains reference in the title, I don't know. I just felt like that's the sort of rock sound he's going for, which is very different than the rock sounds he's favored in the past. So.
See, I don't get Alice in Chains from the two. Again, I'm not counting Some Good Pussy, but when we talk about the two rock tracks that are on the main, when we talk about the main two rock songs on here, In the Hole and No Friends, I actually get kind of like a Oh, how to compare it? It's like a kind of like a vocally. It's like some like lo-fi like indie dude, because like Jay there has a voice that I've never heard come out of him, where he's always trying to do these bold tracks. Here it's like him being very insular. He sounds, for the first time ever, like old. He sounds 50. Turned 50 like last year. He sounds 50 on those songs. He sounds like worn out, beat down, very warbly. I've never heard that from him before, and it's very revealing and interesting to hear him like let that out and be like, and like decide like, this is the route I'm going for these. Like normally he'd overblow it, like he'd do like some like still strong in voice. This is not that. This is very wavering.
Yeah, he sounds vulnerable on these. It's interesting. It's interesting. It's vulnerable. It's ragged. It's not super pleasant. Like but it's not supposed to be. And given the context, I mean, the only thing I would say on here that's even kind of like, quote unquote funny in the way that like previous looser stuff is Scatterbrain 2. I mean, he kind of the Herder maybe, but again, the Herder has a lot of qualities of like, I'm trying to be funny, but
again, it's
very obviously trying to be funny.
Even Scatterbrain 2 for me, if you like, it sounds like he is fucking throwing up those jokes. Like he is like, here's all the jokes, you motherfuckers. There you go. There they are. There's your fucking jokes. I brought back. Everybody loves Scatterbrain 1. It's fucking, if you know Scatterbrain 1, it's jarring as hell how different Scatterbrain 2 is in tone and melody, and how much harsher Scatterbrain 2 is harsh. Scatterbrain 1 is like like the instrumental is like a plinky little piano, and Jay's I sold you a Porsche because your mama's a fox. Like that, the dumb shit like that. Here it's like meaner and like everything's in tatters, man. It sounds way more actually schizophrenic and like just upsetting a little bit to me, like and claustrophobic, like how much he's like getting in there like jokes to be like, yeah, here you go, here's all of it, here they all are. I'm just spewing this out now because I don't care.
I alluded to this before, and now it doesn't really seem appropriate given the context, especially now that I think about the lyrics, especially. But A Harrowing Time, I thought, was kind of a posit to the Shaggy track, the Revolution reference on his solo album. They're both kind of like dark ambient sort of exploration.
Close. It's supposed to be a sequel to, I don't even know if you remember the song, but it's supposed to be kind of like a spiritual successor to The Dead Ones from Ringmaster, where if you remember, he's rapping stupidly slow on that song. He's like, I'm sorry, but you're dead. Sorry, but I'm
okay,
dead.
Now like the delivery. Yeah, now I remember that. But
yeah.
But it like sonically, it kind of seemed like a sister song to the Shaggy song. But good after tracks regardless. Very depressing. Don't know if I'll this. But hope he's feeling better.
I hope he is. I like to think he is. I really don't know. We're not too far out from when this album dropped. I hope he is.
Yeah,
he's
a month ago. Holy shit.
No, yeah, it's not that too long ago that this came out, which is why I thought it was very topical that this is when we were
I wasn't even
talking about this.
Doing this. I didn't even realize that, like, wow.
Well, it also turned out perfect for us because it was like two solo EPs, 2 albums between each of them.
All right.
But
so I guess I'll land the planes somewhere. So, I mean, would you agree, though? I mean, I think given the discussion, one thing from this era, this discussion that obviously I'm trying to make an argument that outside of the circus tent, whatever they call it, for non-believers to bring them in, Wizard of the Hood.
Oh, absolutely, Wizard of the Hood. Oh, yes, absolutely, Wizard of the Hood. It completely goes past all of the normal tropes that you would think of for ICP, and is essentially almost kind of like, outside of a few references, its own little world that has been, like I said before, purely thought out, packed in. It's concise, and that's the important thing. It's short. It's 30 minutes, and there's a lot for you to get out of it. But it still has plenty of ICP isms in it. what you're getting is ICP's version of Wizard of Oz, but like in the best possible way it could ever turn out. So and like I've said before, it's peak J rapping ability. And you even get some of the guests around the psychopathic world with Twisted being characters, Blaze You Dead Homie. Shaggy comes in for a great last ending song guest appearance that's a surprise. It's all great, and it's just a happy good time. So yeah, I absolutely would say Wizard of the Hood is easy.
Yeah, it's nice, short and concise, like this 45-minute mini-sode we did. Clown Posse. So Wyatt, thank you for stepping out from behind the curtain for this episode, and we are living off our time. And our outro music, as always, is Stagnated Pace by Can Kick. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Don't forget to fuck off.
Fuck off!
It ain't gonna never stop. 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 It ain't gonna never stop.
Time will tell. Time is yet to be conquered by man. But when the time is right, perhaps the greatest revelation of all time will dawn upon us.